Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the very outset, I must congratulate ISA Nagpur branch for organizing this webinar, and I'm extremely thankful to them for giving me opportunity to share our experiences about peripheral nerve stimulator guided above clavicle block. I declare that I have taken patient consent for videography and photography. The COVID 19 will not disappear soon. It will be around us up to 2022 or 23. So we have to adjust ourselves. We have to live with COVID 19. The previously, you have two options for fracture humerus. You have general anesthesia and regional anesthesia in the form of peripheral nerve block. Because it is not an aerosol generating procedures, you have to take only the contact and droplet precautions. Latest recommendation from ESRA in May 2020, they said for PP you need a mask, surgical gown, double gloves for you, and they said the N95 you should preserve for aerosol generating procedures. This is a must nowadays. Surgical mask for the patient. We previously reused the needle, Stimoplex needle, but this is a big no. You have to rule out the thrombocytopenia because the COVID 19 patient may present with associated thrombocytopenia, and you have to use 1% hypochlorite solution to sterile your equipment. Sterile means the BP cuff, the BP instrument, the ECGs, cables, your PNS machine, the cables and wires of the PNS machine, etc. You have to use this 1% hypochlorite solution. And this is big no, ladies and gentlemen. We are practicing, and for months or the days also, we put the needle, and sometimes there is an suppose 10 ml local anesthesia is there, and we are reusing it. But this is again a big no in COVID pandemic. So if you have used the drugs, and suppose there are few many drugs are available, and also discarded medicine should be put in the plastic in the yellow bin, and you have to discard according to the BMW rules 2020. Now in COVID pandemic, you have to have the successful block. You should learn to give a successful brachial plexus block. Number one. Number two, at the same time, you have spent a lot of time in quality assessment, because if you do not give a successful block, if you do not assess the block properly, in the middle of the surgery, patient may complain pain. And if the patient complains pain, you will convert it into a GA. And the emergency GA and emergency manipulation of trachea and airway has more harm to the healthcare workers, including you. So therefore, you should learn how to give a successful block. At the same time, you should minimize the complication, and you also avoid loss by taking these local anesthetics in the safe limit. Now, how will you increase the successfulness of brachial plexus block? By using the gadgets. Now, if you use gadgets like at least this peripheral nerve stimulator, then success rate increases, the side effect decreases, complication decreases. The if success rate increases, side effect decreases, complication decreases, the time with the patient decreases. So ultimately, this the exposure to the coronavirus will decreases. So that is why it is said that at least you use your peripheral nerve stimulator if you do not have ultrasound machine. Now, I always believe the God has made these all groups for anesthesiologists, and probably you all people will support me. And the group of concern for above-clavicle block is the intrascreening group. And in all groups, the nerves are and the vessels are there. So in case of above clavicle block, this is the group of concern, that is the anterior scalene, and this is the middle scalene, and the brachial plexus always bounds this sandwiches in between the middle scalene and the anterior scalene. So if you are going to anesthetize a human being, in 99.99% of the human being, the brachial plexuses are sandwiched in between these two muscles. So you identify it, locate it, and you insert needle from here or here or here. Block is going to work. So the first step for the successful interscalene block or above clavicle block is the identification of interscalene block. Group. So how to properly identify? This is the patient, supine position. This is the hand, this is the flexor hand, and the head is turned to the other side. And this is the sternal head, you have to mark it. This is the clavicular head, you have to mark it. And this is the clavicle. Now, if it is not palpable, then ask the patient to lift the head. Now, once the patient lifts the head, these muscles become prominent. That is the sternal head. This is the clavicular head. Sternal head, clavicular head. Again, mark it. Now, this is the thyroid cartilage. This is the cricoid cartilage. Now, roll your finger slowly like this. Slowly go lateral, and you will get a groove that is posterior to the clavicular head of sternocleidomastoid muscles. This is a false groove. We are not looking for it. We have to go slightly lateral so that we will get the interscalene groove of our concern. So we'll go slightly millimeter laterally, and then we'll get the groove. That is the interscalene groove. So in the interscalene groove, the two muscles are not parallel. It is like overlapping muscles, anterior scalene, middle scalene. Now the brachial plexus are sandwiched in between the two muscles. So it extends from the cricoid cartilage and to the clavicle. So this is called the apex, and this is called the base of the interscalene groove. So this is the extension or area of the interscalene groove. Now, even after that, you are getting difficult to locate the interscalene groove, then you put the finger in the interscalene groove that already you have marked it, and ask the patient to sniff like this. So when the patient sniffs, it contracts the interscalene muscle, and your fingers will dip in the interscalene groove. You feel the tautness of the interscalene muscles. So that is the correct identification of interscalene grooves. So you have to practice it regularly in your family members, in your every patient. And once you are very much confident of palpating and locating this interscalene groove, the things will be very easier. Now in the above clavicle area, the brachial plexuses are so superficial, you can use the percutaneous pen also. Here, I am using in a volunteers, and thanks to him for giving us the consent. So this is the interscalene groove, and I am putting in the apex of the interscalene groove the percutaneous pen. So once I put the needle pen here in the apex of the interscalene groove, I got the trapezius twitch. What does it indicate? It indicates my needle is posterior in the interscalene groove. So I'll go anterior in the interscalene groove so that I could get some brachial plexus twitches. Now I'm getting some brachial plexus twitches. Now if my needle goes medial direction and anteriorly, I will get abdominal twitches. So what we now do and lateral direction so that I could get the brachial plexus twitches. So these are some tips and tricks and troubleshooting during your needle manipulation during the above clavicle block. So according to the site of the surgery, we insert the needle. So we insert the needle here, that is in the apex of the interscalene groove for shoulder surgery and clavicle surgery. We'll go in between intrasceny apex and the base of the intrasceny group, that is in the middle part, for mid-humerus surgery and elbow surgery. Will go just above the clavicle, that is in the base of the intrasceny group, that is called subclavian perivascular technique, also for elbow surgery and forearm surgery. So according to the site of the surgery, we insert the needle. So this patient, you see, the fracture neck humerus came to us. So our definitive choice will be intrascalene block. So in this patient, we'll insert the needle in the apex of the intrasceny group, that is here. So moment I puncture the skin and subcutaneous tissues, I got a facial click followed by twitches of pectoralis major, deltoid, triceps, and biceps. So any two simultaneous contraction is sufficient. So pectoral twitches, I'm getting deltoid twitches. So it can be taken as an end motor response, and I am depositing only 20 ml of local anesthetic in this patient. And this patient came for mid-humerus surgery. So we'll go in between apex and the base, in the middle part. I will insert the needle here. See, my needle insertion point is, it is the base, it is the apex. So in the middle part of the intrasceny group, as the surgery is somewhere here. So I have inserted the needle, but I did not got twitches, and slightly remanipulated my needle, and I got the twitches of pectoralis major, deltoid, and triceps. So any simultaneous two contraction of this muscle is sufficient. It can be taken as an end motor response. So I'm getting here triceps twitches, deltoid twitches, and pectoral twitches. So I'm again depositing 20 ml of local anesthetics, and this 20 ml of local anesthetics is more than sufficient to block all the dermatome, myotome, and osteotome in this patient. So this is what we need in COVID era. And this boy came for ulnar plate removal. So here we'll go just above the clavicle, that is in the base of the intrasceny group. So we are not going in the apex, we are not going in the middle of the intrasceny group, but we are going in above the clavicle, that is in the base of the intrasceny group, and that is called the subclavian perivascular technique also, or popularly called supraclavicular block. Here I am palpating the subclavian artery, and I am inserting my needle posterolateral to the subclavian artery pulsation. As we are going more distal in the intrasceny group, now our end motor response will be finger flexion or finger extension. So I am remanipulating my needle so that I could get the finger flexion. So I am going just above the clavicle in the base of the intrasceny group. So again, here I am depositing 13 ml of local anesthetic here, and after that you can see all dermatome, all myotome, all osteotomes are blocked properly. So this is what we required in COVID pandemic. A spontaneously bleeding patient, you can monitor from distance, no conversion for general anesthesia at all. Same thing applies for children also. So here again palpating intrasceny group, that is in the base of the intrasceny group. I got all twitches, pectoralis, deltoid, biceps, even the finger twitches. So I'm depositing 8 ml of local anesthetic, and he is very much comfortable during the operation. And this is a must, ladies and gentlemen, in COVID era. So you have to be, you have to give a successful nerve block for intraoperative procedure, and there should not be any conversion at all. But you have to remember a few things in the intrasceny block. Suppose you have deposited local anesthesia here in the classical intrasceny block. You have to remember that C8T1, that is ulnar nerve, is posterior in the deep in the intrasceny group. So you have deposited local anesthetic here, but that may not be sufficient to block the ulnar nerve. So there is a possibility of ulnar sparing in intrasceny block, classical intrasceny block. At the same time, the patient is coming for a clavicular surgery. So you have deposited local anesthesia here around 15 ml. So it will very nicely covers this area. But what about this? Moment the surgeon gives incision here, patient screams in pain because this part is supplied by the supraclavicular nerve, that is C3, C4, which is a component of superficial cervical plexus. So if you are using 15 ml or 20 ml of local anesthetic here, then you have to block superficial cervical plexus separately. So where does it, where the superficial cervical plexus is? This is the clavicular head of sternocleidomastoid muscle. So this is the origin, mastoid, and this is the insertion. You take the length, suppose it is around 14 centimeters. So we take the midpoint of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, clavicular head, that is around 7 centimeters. So you deposit 1.5% of lignocaine adrenaline 5 ml here, or 6 ml, 5 to 7 ml here, and that will block the superficial cervical plexus and ultimately the supraclavicular nerve. Now this will complete the analgesia and anesthesia for clavicular surgery. But if you are using a high volume, suppose you are using a 40 ml of local anesthetic, which we do not say nowadays, we use only low volume, but previously high volume was used, that high volume will slowly overspills from here, overspills from this interscenic groove, and it will blocks the superficial cervical plexus simultaneously. So if you are using a high volume, no need to block superficial cervical plexus separately, but for the low volume, you have to block superficial cervical plexus. You have to remember that this portion is not blocked by your interscenic block. So you have to block it separately by local anesthetic, just infiltration. This is called intracostobrachial nerve. If the incision is here, again, this is not a, not a brachial plexus component. So it is already out from the brachial plexus, suprascapular nerve. So you have to block it separately. So that you have to remember, and that all will complete the anesthesia for intraoperative and postoperative period. At the same time, you have to remember that about the dermatome, myotome, and osteotomes. You have to remember, where is my incision? Suppose my incision is here, the surgeon wants to give incision here, you have given a good supraclavicular block, and moment the surgeon gives incision here, the patient screams in pain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is sometimes not blocked by your supraclavicular nerve. So you have to infiltrate this area like this, inverted T manners, and sometimes this also you have to infiltrate that area. So you have to remember, where is my incision and what is my dermatome and osteotome. Sometimes I may get, or you may get, undesirable response. Here in this patient, forearm fracture, I went for supraclavicular block, means that is in the base of the interscenic block group, that is called also subclavian perivascular approach. I inserted the needle. Moment I inserted the needle, there I got the brachial plexus twitches. At the same time, I got the abdominal twitches, and that is called, all due to because of the phrenic nerve stimulation. Now, if I depose my local anesthetic, at the same time, block. And that is the advantage of using gadgets in COVID era. So I'm not on this by your interscreen this gadget ZFL nerve stimulator. Now, in the pre-COVID area, in PNS guided block, we used to wait for around 30 minutes, but now it is said, let the local anesthesia soak the nerves properly. Wait another 15 to 20 minutes extra. So nowadays, we are waiting for 45 to 60 minutes. Then only we go for assessment. So I have asked the lady after giving block to leave the hand. So she cannot leave the hand. It does the case, means block is taken off, is not it? But moment the surgeon gives, the patient is feeling pain. It is all because you have, your assessment is not the right assessment of block. And the right assessment of the block is, ask the patient to push. If he cannot do, the radial is gone. Ask the patient to pull. If he cannot do, means the musculocutaneous nerve is blocked. Pinch over the median area, pinch over the ulnar area. If the patient is not getting any pinch sensation, then this ulnar and median is blocked. So ulnar is blocked, median is blocked, radial is blocked, musculocutaneous is blocked, radial is blocked. Means all nerve is blocked, no nerve is left. So your patient is ready for incision, is not it? But still your patient is not ready, ladies and gentlemen. What about the dermatome? In this patient, see, this will be the incision. So I am testing the incision area with your cold lipids. So here I am testing about that area and asking the patient he is getting cold sensation or not. If he is not getting the cold sensation, means dermatome is not blocked. But if the patient is getting cold sensation, means dermatome is not blocked, you have to block it separately. You have to notice some common side effect for above block. It is mnemonics as roar, means redness of the ipsilateral eye, drooping of the eyelid, hoarseness of the voice, paresis of phrenic nerve. This is a must. It is going to happen. These are called side effect or not in complication, ladies and gentlemen. Why this happens? Because your needle is in the interskin group. You have deposited around 15 ml of local anesthetic here. There are a lot of facial planes in the neck, so local anesthetic will travels like this and it will block the associated important vital structure and causing this problem. So these are called common side effect, and this is the complications, that is the breathlessness. Patient may have immediate breathlessness and respiratory arrest. Why? Because you have used 10 centimeter needle, that is too long needle, and you have bypassed the brachial plexus and your needle tip is stressing sitting over the dorsal root ganglia. Moment you inject the local anesthetics, it will go into subarachnoid space and patient may have respiratory arrest immediately, and you have to intubate the trachea. So you have to remember, and you have to use your needle properly. That is even 25 ml. So even the distress may be in the minutes or hours or the days in the form of pneumothorax. You have to remember all these complications in above clavicle block. Now, when to intervene? Suppose you have given an above clavicle block and patient has these things, 4Ds, diaphoresis, dysarthria, dyspnea, discomfort. If the patient having discomfort, our idea is the comfortable patient in the intraoperative period, but he is getting discomfort. So we have to intervene. You may have for sedation, or you may go for intubation or conversion to general anesthesia. Now, for COVID-19 era, the question is, should I go for above clavicle block? Because above clavicle block, there is a possibilities of respiratory distress. There is possibility of phrenic nerve palsies. So do I have any more distal option for my patient? Again, use of peritoneal catheter is questionable, because if you use the catheters, the contact time to the patient increases. You are inciting more staff involvement. At the same time, you have to go post-operative period a lot of time, and you have to increase the contact time with the patient. So you have to think accordingly. Sedation, I have not given any sedation till now in my blocks, but if you are using, again, think yourself, because sedation causes decrease in the SpO2, and this decrease in the SpO2 means you have to give supplemental oxygen. Again, this supplemental oxygen may cause aerosol generation, and that may be harmful. So if you still want to give the sedation, go give for the low doses and avoid nasal prong oxygenation. If you want to give the oxygen, give max oxygen, and at the same time use one surgical mask over the oxygen mask. Use of dexamethasone, we are using regularly, but now again the question, because if you are using dexamethasone, it will decrease the immunity. Already the surgery and the anesthesia causes immunity down, and if you are using the dexamethasone, this will cause further down of the immunities, and it may increases the risk for the patient. Clonidine again causes, there is a possibility of bradycardia and hypertension. Bradycardia hypertension means you have to again intervene, you have to touch the patient multiple times, and that again you have to think yourself, either should I go for or not. Block room, yes, we have block room, but now it is said there is a possibility of cross infection, so better to give in the operating room. These all blocks. So the 10 right is a must in COVID pandemic. Number one, the right patient, right limb, right position, and right identification of the intrascenic group, and right needle, so that you decrease the complication and side effect. Right group, we look for any two twitches of pectoralis major, deltoid, biceps, or triceps. But if you're going down in the intrascenic group, that is in the base of the intrascenic group, that is called the subclavian perivascular, our response will be finger flexion or extension, more distal response. Drug volumes, bupivacaine you can use, or lignocaine, whatever it is up to you, but the volume should never go beyond 20 ml in above clavicle. Waiting time, you have to increase. This is a must, and assessment is a must in COVID area. You make sure that it has been successful, and then only go for surgery. So this is what I conclude. But always remember, if you are giving above clavicle block for distal radius, means it is an overkill. You should not do it. Now, in the COVID era, patient becomes with a respiratory distress and with a fracture humerus neck humerus. So our choice will be definitely intrascleral block. So this lady came to us. She is not a COVID patient, but having see all respiratory muscles in action, accessory muscles in action. She is a chronic respiratory failure patient. So we went into intrascleral group that is a and deposited around 7 ml of lignocaine adrenaline 2%, and we look for the deltoid twitches, and then patient has everything fine. There is no increase in the respiratory distress in the intraoperative period. Post-operatively, there is slight increase in the respiratory rate, but we did not do anything, any intervention to the patient, and everything was fine. So that can be with the use of gadgets, we are decreasing the volume, we are increasing the success rate, and at the same time making the patient more safe.